LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson cuts out time of his busy schedule, got a trip looming to Tennessee, and yet he spends time with us here every single week. Coach, what's going on? Fresh off a nice midweek win. Turns out you managed to get 3 home runs from the leadoff hitter, Coach. It's not a bad recipe for success.
Yeah, I like that. Sign me up for that. And I'm good with going defensive tackle in the leadoff spot.
Okay, Coach. So let's get into everything here, because going into last weekend, we kind of asked, okay, when things are starting to go awry a bit, what's your message to the team? And you talked about, okay, let's narrow the focus. This game, this at bat, this pitch, and just live there and kind of let the results fall where they may. And again, a bit of a heartbreaker in game 2 here. And I wonder, like, as that continues, is that messaging still the same? Do you evolve it? Do you change it in any way? Or is it still, look, all we can do is focus everything we have on the present?
Yeah, I always believe in that. I believe in that whether, we're in the College World Series, last year playing as well as you possibly could, or you're in a tough stretch. I think that's key. You mentioned Friday night's game. I've been doing this a long time, and that was about as tough a loss as I can remember. It's very reminiscent to the Florida deal, because if you just flip those 2 games and 2 or 3 of those pitches, we're in an entirely different situation right now.
Yeah.
And so, we got blasted on Saturday. I would give you the third game of this one. We got beat. You got to give Vanderbilt some credit. We've run into a little bit of tough luck where, Florida is throwing Caglione on Sunday, Vanderbilt, Carter Holton on the game 3. And that's 2 of the 3 best pitchers in the league. And, after a tough loss like that, that's been a tough ask. This week, I don't know if it's necessarily changing it, but it's more of moving on. For me, it is difficult, to let go of games like the Vanderbilt game or that Florida game. But for our players, for all of us in the organization, it's kind of like for these last 18 league games, 4, non-conference game, it's like, what's next? And, let's attack that. And they did a good job of that on Tuesday. And we're going to have to do that this weekend. So really focusing on, the present game, as we did the same. And then what's next? Let's be excited about what's in front of us. And I'm really excited about this weekend. I think, it's not, necessarily tangible to see, with where we are in the league standings. But I do think there's some things that are evolving in a positive way, and we just need a little bit more. It's not this, I know we got 10 run a couple times, but it's not just those games. And some of the other ones, we just need a little bit more, and, we can put ourselves in a good spot. And so what's next? And that's Tennessee this weekend.
Yeah, Coach, how much of that conversation do you have? Because you're exactly right. The last couple of series, you look at Florida, Vanderbilt, you're a pitch away from winning those series. And so it's not like it's crazy far off. And those are 2 really good baseball teams. And so, is that a conversation that you continuously have with your team? Hey, it's not as bad as it seems right now. We are making plays to win games. We just got to make the play to finish it.
Yeah, for sure. And you can look at a couple things in those couple losses. And, I certainly do. Anything I can do as the coach to help us put us over the top. And, with the players, it's just being a little bit better. And, again, I get it. It's the SEC. Everybody's got a tough schedule. I'd really like historically to look back and see if anybody's played 4 top 6 teams in a row. You know what I mean? In the conference schedule. And I get it. That's what we're supposed to be too. And that's what I came here to do. And that's what we've been, for a year and a half, before this stretch. So we just gotta hang in there and gain value out of these things. And, I'm excited about some adjustments we're making, with the pitching staff in terms of how we're going to use guys. I'm excited about, some new faces moving into the mix. I'm excited about some improvement from the position player standpoint. And, the offensive thing, I mean, Grayson Carter last Thursday night throwing 100 miles an hour, you know, and we scored 10 runs.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we withstood, you know, Bryce Cunningham, who's going to be a first-round pick, and got him out of the game before the end of the fifth inning. And I believe if you score 6 runs at home against a pitcher of that caliber, you have to win that game.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to score 8, but if you score 6 against a first-round pick at home, you have to win that game.
Talking to LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson here on OTB, and Coach, looking forward to Tennessee this weekend in Knoxville. Lindsey Nelson, a bit of a smaller park, right? A lot of offense within those walls, and it looks like the offense is going to have to show up this weekend because if you just look at Tennessee's conference-only stats, offensively, it's pretty overwhelming. And so when you kind of look at your own staff then, and as you said, some of the changes you're trying to make, trying to figure out, okay, how do we kind of unlock some of these guys that we know are better than what we're seeing currently? How do you game plan it from a pitching perspective when you would appear on paper to be at a disadvantage?
Yeah, well, first off, you know, to the opponent, you know, I watched their last four, well, not their last 4, but I watched 4 conference games last night. I watched the series against Auburn and one of the games against Georgia, which was the week before. And they're good. Like, and it's names like they were all there last year. So, I mean, there's a College World Series team that we played and was able to beat 4 times, but it's not really a surprise. Like, you know, Kavarius Tears, you know, had a pinch hit and they made the last out of the game. In the second game, we beat them in Omaha. I mean, he drove a ball to the fence the other way that Josh Pearson made a nice catch on. It's like, man, that guy's going to be really good. And they are really good. I mean, they're really balanced. They hit mistake pitches. You mentioned the ballpark. Like, it's a good challenge. And there's a path, like, to get them out, but our pitchers have to be better than they have been. And I do think we're moving in that direction. I know that's crazy to say, but, you know, with Luke's been solid. You know, with Gage, again, like, I still really believe in him. He'd only thrown 14 college innings before showing up here.
Yeah.
And then you throw this schedule into it. Like, he's gone through some learning. He's had a great week of prep. So I'm really excited about getting Gage out there. I thought the guys threw the ball extremely well on Tuesday night. And, you know, we'll probably carry another pitcher or two to navigate ourselves through that. You know, so you may see some weird stuff like Guidry in the infield or Cade Anderson in the outfield, know, because we're going to go with a heavy pitching staff, you know, this weekend to try to help us. And it's a good opportunity. I mean, it's a team, I think they've only lost 4 or 5 games. And so if you win 1 or 2 on a road, you know, that's massive value in terms of where we want to be.
Coach, actually, my next question was going to be, we saw some changes in the lineup there in the midweek, and you just mentioned maybe a couple of things that you'll do this weekend. Like, when you have those kind of conversations and you're trying to figure out maybe how you get out of this small rut, like, what goes into those conversations? Is it a week-long conversation, 10 days, or is it something like, hey, yesterday, hey, we got to do something different. We're going to do something a little bit different here.
Yeah, I kind of made a joke about it Tuesday night. Like, I mean, I didn't put the lineup up till an hour and 15 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
Just from, hey, man, we got to get this right. Like, there's no margin for error. And, you know, when you have a little inconsistency in performance, like, that's kind of what makes it hard. Now, our guys are trying really hard and working, and I think offensively there's a few more things, like, we're going to be able to hang our hat on going forward. I think some guys are developing, but it comes down to those 1 or 2 at bats to be able to push the lead. Like, we had first and third, 1 out. We were up 5-4 in that game on Friday night, and you know, we hit a ground ball to the first baseman. Oof. You know what I mean? Yeah. And in frankly, what should have been a good hitter-pitcher matchup at the time. And so those types of things, you know, it's just understanding that and, you know, being able to slow down in that moment and focus on what you need to do to execute. But they're putting a lot of effort towards it. I'm giving them a little bit different blueprint to what we're going to try to do here moving forward. And, you know, it's a little bit, it may be a little risky, but it's like we're selling out to go for it. Not that they haven't been, but it's like we're going to put all hands on deck, you know, live by the sword, die by the sword. try to help our pitching staff navigate through the challenges you said of that Tennessee lineup, small ballpark. And I'm excited about it. And, when you get to a point sometimes where there's nothing to lose, like that can be a really good thing.
Coach, last one for me here, and it has to do with Nate Ackenhausen, where, at the two biggest kind of inflection points of the season, he's been at the center of both, right, where he gets the big K against Florida and ends up, kind of getting lost in the shuffle next thing you know, and he extends. And then the other night, just 4 outs away, kind of looks like he's cruising, and then the big 2-run home run. What is your – because I still think Ackenhausen has a huge role to play, obviously, right? What's your message to him to help him to maintain that confidence?
Yeah, that's a good question, and trust me, nobody's wearing it harder than Nate. And I love Nate. I mean, we have a national championship because of Nate.
Yeah.
He was one of the more underrated pieces of that team last year. He had so many good outings, and, frankly, I will take responsibility for it because I trust him so much. And, there's some other things like that people don't see, like we've had to bring him in too early in both of those games.
Yeah.
And that's caused a
point.
problem. And, it's like, sometimes you got to close the game in the 7th inning. And, if we got a little more extension out of a couple relievers before he came in, it would have shortened what he had to do, but we got caught in matchup deals. Like, we can't even get to the 8th or 9th inning unless we do this right now. And then it left us a little bit shorthanded. I mean, I could think Ty Evans hit a double, when we're up 4-2 in the 8th inning. Had we got Ty Evans out, we would have been able to hold Nate off for a little bit longer, and then we gave up a leadoff hit, in the 7th inning, and we had to bring him in, and we stranded the guy on third to keep the lead.
Yeah.
Well, if you can wait an inning, it's a little bit different ask out of him. So it's not just him, it's everybody executing at a better level, and that's what we need, and that's why we're making some adjustments with kind of who we're going to give the ball to, again, try to not ask anybody to do too much. Now, Saturday's game, that was kind of the plan going in, and nobody really did their job. They got hammered. So we'll have to just keep going until we get that right combination to win 2 games out of 3 against these teams that we're playing, and just get to the point where we have it lined up correctly.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier this week, I ain't going nowhere, and I'm pumped to continue to watch this team and to see who's going to fight, who has the balls to continue to fight and scrap every single weekend, no matter how adverse the situation may get. So can't wait for this weekend, Coach. Best of luck, and as always, a massive thank you for coming on and giving us such sincere, thoughtful answers and your time. Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you just said about that, and I think that's something that makes LSU cool. And I said this before, like what you just asked of, the team, like that's something like I'm always comfortable being held accountable for, because that's the ground floor. We obviously got to do everything better to win, but I appreciate that, and out of me and our team, I believe you'll continue to get that. So.
Coach Jay Johnson, legend of the game, going to Lindsey Nelson this weekend. Going to be another exciting SEC matchup. Coach, take it easy, and best of luck again.